because he's given Jesus Christ, his son. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because he's given Jesus Christ, his son. And now let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. Give Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because he's given Jesus Christ, his son. And give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because he's given Jesus Christ, his son.
Good morning. Look at you all braving the cold. It's really the humidity that gets you. I invite y'all to stand. If you're here, I invite you to stand and worship with us. If you're at home, which a lot of you are.
Stand.
Yeah. Or no,
not?
we won't know.
Sing at home, yeah.
Sing
That's
at
good.
home.
Yeah.
I like it.
There's revival, and it's spreading like a wildfire in my heart. Sunday morning, hallelujah, and it's lasting all week long. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? It's the rhythm of a gospel song. Oh, won't you choose it? You can't lose it. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. Oh, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. When the valleys that I wander turn to mountains that I can't climb. Oh, you are with me, never leave me. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. No, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. Clap your hands and stomp your feet till you find that gospel beat, 'cause it's all you'll ever need, all you'll ever need. Clap your hands and stomp your feet till you find that gospel beat, 'cause it's all you'll ever need, all you'll ever need. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I've got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. No, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. No, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy.
All right,
Thank you
can,
for singing.
Be seated. For those of you at home, me and Jim are I usually don't do the announcements. So do you usually have people sit down?
I usually, yeah.
Cool. So listen to Jimmy. You're all sitting down. Those of you at home, you can sit down too. You probably actually already are. So I'm Craig Finestead. I'm one of the pastors here.
I'm Chad Schuckman. I'm the Director of Youth Ministries.
Hey, and if you're new, and whether you're here in person or you're worshiping online, next Sunday after worship at 10:30, after the 10:30 service, we have Starting Point. Starting Point is if you're really new to the church, you just want to get to know the staff, because we do want to get to know you. That will be held after the 10:30 service next week. And then for those of you who are interested in digging a little bit deeper, we have a We Explore class. It's on Tuesday, January 30th. That'll be from 6 to 8. Leandra and I teach that. That's really how you become a member. We look at what we believe here at the church and then explore ways to get plugged in as well. And then we have a community event. That one is going to be on Sunday, February 4th. That's at 5 o'clock in the evening. And this is our annual chili cook-off. So it's really one of the coolest things we do every year. There's hundreds of people that come, dozens of chilies. Just save the date for now. We'll have all the information coming up in the weeks to come, but wanted to let you know that was coming up soon.
Have you already decided your flavor of chili yet, Craig?
No, that's usually about a weekend. I decide that weekend of the
Okay.
chili.
Or
What about you
da-
guys? You guys got your chili? Who's making chili back here? What do you got for yours, John?
That's just traditional.
Traditional for John?
Traditional.
Traditional. That'll explain the old church choir song. You know, we're trying to do the traditions here at the water's edge.
Hey, we got some other stuff going on here at the Water's Edge. I know it's real cold outside, so we want you to start thinking about summer already. We've got our Belize mission trip that's going to be June 8th through the 16th. If you've thought about going on a mission trip, Belize is a really great opportunity for you to give that a try. Registration deadline is coming up in a couple of weeks. That's going to be February 1st. If you'd like more information, please speak to one of our staff members. We'd love to tell you a little bit more about it.
It should be like the perfect weekend to the Belize. I mean, it's 80,
I know.
It's going to be 88 degrees and humid every day.
The whole, yeah,
there,
every
so
day.
That wouldn't guarantee.
So if you're thinking about just getting out of cold and into warm, this would be a great day to get signed up. We also want to let you know that We University is starting up February 1st. That's we have 7 classes that we're offering. We University is our opportunity for you to maybe get involved in ways that you can grow deeper in your relationship with God and your relationship with your spouse. We've got a marriage class. There's a finance class. There's a class on forgiveness. All of those are good for marriage, I think. So, but we would love for you to look at what those options are. Some of those are listed in your bulletin. You can find more at weomaha.com. And those are getting started, like I said, February 1st. We're excited about those all beginning in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think on the screen behind me there's some pajamas, or kids have pictures in pajamas. That was last Sunday.
And Pop-Tarts.
And I think actually for a lot of kids it's probably Pajama Sunday again this week. But yeah, it was really cool to see all the kids here last week and just excited about learning about Jesus. One of the things when we give is it supports our kids ministry. There's so many parts that encompass our kids ministry through VBS of the summer, through the fishing ministries, through the weekly Wednesday night and Sunday morning things. So there's many ways to give. You'll see those on the screens as well. Y'all are such a generous congregation, and it's just a blessing to serve alongside y'all. Y'all make so many missions and ministries possible here at the Water's Edge.
So today we're starting a new series called Practice Makes Not Perfect, but Progress. And so we want to let you know if you've been looking for a guide or something like that, we're going to be we're going to be printing out the guides each week for your house churches, for yourselves, those study guides. You can pick those up on your way out the door today. We also have those available online at weomaha.com, so you can make sure you grab those as well. We're excited. Leandra is going to be sharing the message with us today. And so with that, we're going to invite you to stand again as you're able, if you're at home. However you're comfortable singing and joining with us, please do so. And Jimmy, band, turn it back over to you.
Worship the God who evermore will be. He opened the prison doors. He parted the raging sea. Our God, He holds the victory. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. We shout out your praise. We sing to the God who heals. We sing to the God who saves. We sing to the God who always makes a way. 'Cause He hung up on that cross and He rose up from that grave. My God, still rolling stones away. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. So we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Shout out your praise. Oh, we were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. Oh, we were the beggars, now we're rolling.
liberty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. We shout out your praise.
Thank you.
There's a peace I've come to know, though my heart and flesh may fail. There's an anchor for my soul. I can say it is well. Jesus has overcome, and the grave is overwhelmed. The victory is won. He is risen from the dead, and I will rise when He calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. I will rise on eagle's wings before my God. Fall on my knees and rise, and I will rise. There's a day that's drawing near, when this darkness breaks to light and the shadows disappear, and my faith shall be my eyes. Jesus has overcome, and the grave is overwhelmed. Victory is won. He is risen from the dead, and I will rise when He calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. I will rise on eagle's wings before my God. Fall on my knees and rise. I will rise. And I hear the voice of many angels sing, worthy is the Lamb. And I hear the cry of every longing heart, worthy is the Lamb. And I hear the voice of many angels sing, worthy is the Lamb. And I hear the cry of every longing heart, worthy is the Lamb, worthy is the Lamb. And I will rise when He calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. I will rise on eagle's wings before my God, fall on my knees and rise. I will rise, and I will rise.
Thank you.
In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. So I yield to you and to your careful hand. When I trust you, I don't need to understand. Make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. You are breaking new ground. Make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, and the kingdom is here. I lay down my old flames to carry your new fire today. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, and the kingdom is here. I lay down my old flames to carry your new fire today. Make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine
Thank you for worshiping with us. You may now take a seat.
All right, well, good morning, church. It's great to be with you this morning. My name is Leandra Esler. I'm one of the pastors here, and if you're new within the last few months, I'm probably new to you, so I just came back from maternity leave. For the last 3 months, I've been hanging out with these three. That's Nolan on the left. He's going to be 2 in March, and then Mia is in the white, and Morgan's in the pink, and they just turned 3 months, so for the past 3 months, I've been at home hanging out with them, and I know when someone has a baby, they're like constantly trying to show you pictures of their baby, and I just have 7 more. So next slide. And I'm just kidding. That's the only one. But feel free to check out my Instagram. There's plenty more. But I'm super excited to be back. It was great to be on maternity leave. But this has never really just felt like a job for me. I love being here. I love being with you all. We still worshiped here. We still, have our community here, and we're figuring out new routines, but we're just super excited to be back. And I wanted to say thank you to all of you. So many of you reached out and prayed for us and sent cards and were thinking of us and have already volunteered to watch all 3 of them, which is very brave. But we will take you up on it because we need a break. But it's hard coming back from maternity leave, getting ready to come back. For the last 3 months, I've been with those 2 babies 24/7, attached to me at all times. And then you get ready to go back, and they're at day. You're not with them most of the day, and you're just on this daycare app, refreshing, hoping for some sort of picture update and wanting to know what they were doing. And when I was getting ready to come back from maternity leave, I was praying, we got all this quality time together. I just pray as we go back to work and things get busy and daycare and all of that, I just pray that we can still find some quality time to just be together as a family. And after this past week, I've realized I should have been more specific. We got a lot of good quality family time this week. When I was praying that, I was picturing less snow, and I was also picturing that Sam would be home with me for the quality time, and I wouldn't be home with these 3 kids by myself. But prayer does work. You just have to be really specific when you do it. But I know it's been cold. There's been snow. Maybe that was because of my prayer, so I apologize to all of you that are at home. I know a lot of you are watching online with us. And Sarah, our online host this morning, she's in there in the chat wanting to keep the conversation. So just go in there, say good morning, tell us who you're watching with, and then for all of you online, go in the comments. I want to know how many inches of snow are in that heap at the end of your driveway. I want to see if we can find the biggest pile at the end of the driveway. All of you here, I'm guessing it's not too bad because you made it in this morning. But for all of you watching online, go in the comments and just feel free to keep the conversation going throughout the service. One of the things I got to do when I was on maternity leave, as pastors, we rarely get to do this, but I went and worshiped at a different church. Besides here, we went home to where I grew up in Marion, Iowa, and we went to Marion Methodist, this church this is where I grew up for the most part. A friend invited me to youth group in 7th grade, and I didn't really care about the church part, but I knew there was going to be pizza, and all my friends were going, so I wanted to go. And that's really where I met Jesus for the first time. I learned about love and grace and all these things, and I started serving, and really brought me to where I am today. And there's something about when you go home to your hometown, if it's not here, or even going back to an old church or driving past an old house where you live, that makes you really reflective. Oh, remember what I was like? Remember what life was like back when I was in this place? And I was thinking about that a lot when I was back at Marion Methodist, that church, and I was remember who I was and what I was like here and where I am now. How did I get from A to B? What was the path, all the things that have happened, who I was, and it wasn't really a straight line of progress like this. Maybe it was like this at the beginning, and then it was like this, and it was like this, and then it was like this for a little bit, and then hopefully there was some up here for a little bit, but a general upward trajectory, and thinking about how does that growth happen? I'm not the same person. I don't have the same relationship with God that I had in 8th grade. But how do we get from A to B? How can I look back on today, 10, 15 years later and say, okay, I've gone even more in this direction than where I am today? And last week, Craig talked about knowing your why, and encouraged us to think about your why as what motivates you, what inspires you, what gets you out of bed in the morning. Why do you do what you do? Why does it all matter to you? Why put in the work? And I've wanted to be a pastor really since I was 17 years old. That's when I first started thinking about it and talking to my pastor. And by the time I started college, the plan was to go to seminary after. And so I was thinking back, like I can reflect on my why now, but why as a 17-year-old, like what was my why then? Why did I as a 17-year-old with all these options want to work in the church and do this? And I don't know if I can remember it exactly, but part of the why I think was definitely at that age, you're just so insecure. It's so hard to be yourself. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be cool. I just wanted people to like me. I was worried that, if I showed my true self and it got rejected, how painful that would be. And that's just so stressful to always be worrying about that. And I remember when those friends invited me to youth group, I met all these other girls, and it's like they don't seem to be as worried about that or as bothered by that as I am. I feel like they get to really be themselves. Like, why do they have that and I don't? Why am I, so afraid? And over the course of time, I realized, like, their love and acceptance comes from somewhere else. I'm looking for it from other 13-year-olds who are never going to give it to me. And they have it from somewhere else, and I wanted that too. And when I finally found that, it's just so freeing to not have to care anymore. And I would look around and see other friends, and I'm like, I wish they felt that way too. I can see, that they're struggling, that they're worried, that they're hurt by other people, and I just want them to have that too. I think when I was 17, that was my big why. I'd had this experience, and I wanted everyone else to have it. And I think over time, that's changed and evolved and grown. I think to today, 2 years ago, I had 0 kids, and now I have 3. So my why, nothing changes your why like having kids. And in these last 2 years, what I think about here and what motivates me has totally changed. I think from a parent's perspective in a lot of ways now, I think of these little kids and, how can I introduce them to Jesus? How can I help them have a relationship? How can I help them grow up to be good people and have the community that I found in the church? I've been a lot more supportive of Jason over the last 2 years in the kids ministry, wanting that to be a place where my kids will hopefully grow up. Your why changes over time, and I realized that the times when my why was really, really clear were the times in life where I was really close to God. And the times where it was confusing and I didn't really know, or I was spending a lot of time and energy on things that didn't really matter, were the times when I was pretty disconnected from God or distracted from God. So in this new series we're starting today, we're going to be looking at how can we grow closer to God? What are the practices that get us there? What are the habits? How do we, stay on this upward trajectory? How do we grow? And I don't want us to forget about the why, though. As we go through this series, I hope that these next 5 weeks will help us grow closer to God, but also help us continue to think about our why. What are those things that motivate us? And maybe if we're doing things that don't inspire us, we don't want to get out of bed in the morning. And once we find our why, we can move to the how and the what and make those a part of our lives. And, I think that phrase, practice makes perfect, the reason we crossed out perfect is because that phrase is not true. If you practice something, it does not always make perfect. I spent a whole summer practicing basketball. I wanted to make varsity so bad in high school, and I went to the YMCA every single day, and you know what? I got 0 D1 scholarship offers. It didn't make perfect. I got a little more playing time, but that's about it. It doesn't make perfect. It rarely does, but it can make progress. And in the church, when we talk about spiritual practices, we call them spiritual practices a lot, reading the Bible, praying, serving, inviting, worshiping, all these things. They're called practices for a reason, because we're practicing them. There's no one who's perfect at prayer, but every time we pray, we get better at prayer. There's no one who knows everything in the Bible. You're not going to have the whole Bible memorized and know everything about it. But the more time we spend in the Bible, we make progress slowly over time. You'll practice doesn't make perfect. That shouldn't be our expectation, but it can make progress. It can help us grow. So today we're going to be looking at this passage in John 15, and it's in your bulletin or your online bulletin if you want to follow along. And in this passage, Jesus is talking to the disciples, and he's telling them how to grow. He wants them to grow. He wants them to grow as people. He wants them to grow in their relationship with God. In this passage, he's telling them, he's teaching them, here's how you do it. And I actually want to start at the end of the passage, because at the end of the passage, Jesus tells the disciples his why. Why is he telling them this? Why does he care? What's motivating him? So in verse 11, Jesus says, I have told you these things so that. This is at the end. And what's interesting is, so Jesus is not telling them to grow closer to God. He doesn't say, I've told you these things so that you will be a better Christian, or so that you will do more good things, or that you will pass some Christian test, or be a better person, or get more work done for the church. That's not his reason why. He says, I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Your joy will overflow. I want you to grow closer to God, not because it's going to do something for me, not because it's going to make you good enough. I want you to grow closer to God so that you will be filled with joy. That's the end result that Jesus wants for us. So I want you all to take a second. I want you to try and picture the person that you know that you perceive as the closest to God. Maybe it's a relative, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's someone you know at church. Who is that person that you think is closest to God? If you're watching online, if you're watching with people and you have your person, tell the people you're watching with, or go in the comments and tell it. Who is that person? Actually, I want you to picture a person in your head. All right, I'm looking. You guys are all thinking you guys got somebody. You have that person in your head that you think, that's probably the person I know that is closest to God. And I want you to think, would you describe that person as joyful? Do you see joy in that person? Because that's what Jesus is saying. The result of getting closer to God is you have more joy. And I know the person I'm thinking of, like when she walks in the room, you can just tell there's more joy there. And I'm not talking about happiness, because happiness comes and go and it's based on circumstance. I'm talking about that joy that you can just sense people carry with them. I know my person, even on the bad days, she has this sense of joy and hope. She carries that with him. And Jesus is saying the closer you grow to God, the more you will look like that and experience that. And in this passage, he uses a lot of imagery to help us understand things. And in this one, he uses the image of a grapevine. So we're going to go back to the beginning, verse 1. At the beginning of this chapter, Jesus says, I am the true grapevine. My Father is the gardener. It says, I am the vine and you are the branches. So if you haven't spent a lot of time around a vineyard, here's what a grapevine looks like. This is what Jesus is talking about. So you see these bottom vines, and then they kind of spread out, and all these little branches come out, and that's where the grapes are. So Jesus is saying, I'm that bottom vine. I'm the one holding up all those little offshoots, those branches. Those are us. And he says, God is the gardener. And then he goes on to say, and he's telling them, this is how you grow. He says, remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch can't produce fruit if it's severed from the vine. If it's separated from that main vine, it can't grow. It can't bear fruit. You cannot bear fruit unless you remain in me. Now, in order to grow, Jesus says we have to be like those branches. We have to stay connected to that main vine. So we can't pop in for a checkup or stop by every once in a while and get filled up and then go out and then come back. He says we need to stay connected. We need to remain in each other all the time if we want to grow. In verse 5, he says, yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. So connected to Jesus, there'll be growth. If we can't stay connected to Jesus, there won't be growth. And in this metaphor, he says he's the vine, we're the branches, and he says God is the gardener. And the very first thing he tells us about growing in verse 2 is really interesting. So he says, the gardener, God, cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit so they will produce even more. So in order to grow the branches, that's us, we need to be pruned. And this metaphor, it would have made a lot of sense to people back in Jesus' time. There was a lot of vineyards and grape growing in that part of the world, and they would have understood what Jesus was talking about. Maybe some of you are like me. I can't keep those like impatient flowers alive in my front yard. And if you don't know anything about gardening, those are the easy flowers, right? That's what they give the beginners, and I cannot keep them alive. My grandma helps me. So I did some research last night on grapevines and pruning and what Jesus is really saying here. They don't teach you this stuff in seminary. So let's do the grapevine picture one more time. So when they talk about pruning, you have the main vine, you have these little branches, and then each branch has a bunch of branches shooting off of it, right? So a grapevine, when it's sprouting, overproduces too many buds. It grows too many grapes just naturally. So a grapevine might grow and produce like 300 buds that are going to do a whole bunch of grapes. But each vine only has enough nutrients. It only has enough energy to really grow 100 successfully. So if you don't prune, it's going to divide those nutrients up between all 300 buds, and none of them are going to get enough nutrients, and none of them are going to grow, and you're going to have all these small grapes or underdeveloped grapes. So what the gardener has to do is go in and prune the ones that don't look as productive or as beneficial. They try and find the best 100 buds and cut off everything else so that all the nutrients go to those 100 things, and then they can grow, and you've got full, good grapes. There's just not enough nutrients in the vine for all 300. It doesn't work. And Jesus' first suggestion to us on how to grow, he does not say, you're a plant and you need to add water and sunlight and soil. That's not what he says. He says, you're a plant and you only have so much nutrients. We have to prune away all those things in your life that are sucking up your physical energy, your emotional energy, your spiritual energy that aren't helping you, so that we can direct all of that to the places where you want to grow. He says the first thing we need to do is prune away the stuff that's getting in the way so we can really focus on where we want to grow. We can't grow 300 buds. We don't have the time. But we might be able to grow 100, good grapes if we focus all of our attention and energy in that one direction. If we want to grow closer to God, but we've got this big anger branch in our lives, and we're directing a lot of our energy and focus into this anger, this branch over here where we're trying to grow closer to God or grow in our relationships is not going to get enough of us. We need to prune this anger branch so that we can redirect some of that to the places where we want to grow. Same with, let's say you want to grow closer to God, but you've got this big branch and it's just envy and comparison and jealousy and feeling like you're not good enough, and you're devoting a lot of your energy into that, and you never feel good enough, and you're always trying to get more, and even when you do, like, well, so-and-so's got it better, and gosh, I need to direct more time and energy and money and resources over here so I can keep up with, the other families. We're not going to be able to grow if that's taking up so much of us. And we're not going to be able to grow in gratitude if a lot of our focus is over here on what we don't have. We need to prune that branch off and redirect our efforts somewhere else. Maybe it's this past hurt or mistake that's been growing for years. And until we get rid of that, we're never going to be able to grow over here. Maybe I think for a lot of us, it's perfectionism. We may not think of ourselves as perfectionists, but that feeling of like, I need to do everything and be everything to everyone, and I have to be good at everything, and I need to give 100% at work and to my family and to fitness and to my friends and to church, and I need to be 100% all the time to everywhere. That's this idea of perfectionism, and if you have that branch, that's going to suck up everything. And if we want to grow in our relationship with God, we are going to have nothing left, because everything is going to be devoted to being perfect and people-pleasing and trying to keep up. Jesus says before anything else, before we talk about anything we need to add, if you want to grow as a branch, you have got to prune off all that stuff that's getting in the way of the good grapes growing over here. After we prune, he continues on and he talks about, there's things that we do need to add, things, the water and the soil and the sunlight and the metaphor that will help us grow. And I know some of you are thinking like, okay, we're talking about how to grow in our relationship with God. Gee, I wonder what the pastor is going to tell us to do. She's going to tell us to pray and read the Bible and serve and join a group and take a class. And you're right, those are the things. That's very predictable. We all know that. Someone who's rarely set foot in a church could come in here, and if I said, how do you think you grow closer to God, they could probably list all those things. We know the what. The what is not a mystery to us. If we said, I really want to grow in my relationship with God this year, we know what we need to do. We know the practices. The problem that I've struggled with, and I hear other people struggling with it, is the how can we pull that off, though? We've tried to start the Bible reading plan 1,000,000 times, and it never gets past week 2. We say, okay, I'm going to pray every morning. I'm going to start my morning. And 2 days later, we're like, oh, man, I forgot to pray the last 3 days. It's just, it's the how that's hard for us. How do I read the Bible and actually apply it? What am I reading here? This is very confusing. How do I pray in a way that's actually meaningful? I feel like I'm just rambling and I don't know what to say and nothing's working. How can I serve people in a way that actually impacts them? I feel like I go to these things and it's putting on a Band-Aid and I'm not making a real difference in the world. We know the what. It's the how that gets really frustrating. I think the biggest one is we just can't find the time to get these practices in our lives. We know what we want to do. We've started all the things before, but we don't have enough time. We're busy, we're distracted, and a few days later, that plan that we were going to commit to or that practice or habit we were going to start, it's just not working, and it's just another failure in a long list of failures of us trying to grow closer to God. And I don't want us to keep going on that cycle of leaving here and being like, okay, she told me to read the Bible more. I'm going to read the Bible more. And then a week later, next Sunday when we come back here, it just hasn't worked again. It's that idea of insanity, trying the same thing over and over, and it's not working. That's what happens a lot with these spiritual practices. So here's what I'm not going to do today. I'm not going to tell you what you need to start doing. I'm not going to tell you, here's all the activities that you need to add to your life that's already really full. I'm not going to say you need to start your day by reading the Bible for an hour, and you need to end your day by praying for an hour, and you need to go to Miller Park every Saturday, and you need to go to Belize, and you need to be here every night at the church for Bible study and in class and all of that. I'm not going to tell you all these things you need to add. If you did all of that, you would grow. It would work. Those are good things, but I know that for most of us, it's not going to work. I've heard from so many people that try and live that way, and it doesn't work, and it's not helping them. I don't want us to leave here with a bunch of good ideas of here's what I want to do, and it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. I remember growing up. Can we put up that picture of the Bible? I remember growing up. Has anyone seen a version of this picture in your life? I thought this is what it meant to be a Christian. Every good Christian I know posted this picture. They would get up in the morning, they'd have their coffee, and they'd read their Bible, and they were great doodlers, and the margins of their Bible always looked so pretty. And I would always see that when I was younger, and I was like, if I want to grow closer to God, this is the only way to do it. This is what everyone else is doing. And it never worked for me. I mean, first of all, I think coffee is gross. I don't like the smell. And I think if I posted a picture like that with a Diet Coke, it just doesn't have the same aesthetic. And I don't want people to know that I do drink Diet Coke before 7 a.m. And so the second thing is I'm just not a morning person. These pictures are always like starting my day with God and in the Bible, and I'm just horrible in the morning. I get good around 11. So for the next service. But it's just the morning routine thing. That's what I heard everyone else doing, and it didn't work for me. I'm not a good morning person. I start slow, and I don't know, like, if you have a toddler right now, like, the first hour of my day is the most chaotic hour of my day. There's no peace. There's no reading. There's no soft worship music playing in the background. Like, it's just a battle until we all get in the car. And that's not going to work for me right now, Lastly, I love those people always had such beautiful drawings in their Bible. I have the worst handwriting. I wanted to leave behind this Bible with all my notes for my kids someday. They'll look back. And I was looking at it the other day, and I was like, they're not going to be able to read any of this. It's just a bunch of scribbles. but I would see those pictures, or I'd hear people talking, and I said, if you want to grow closer to God, this is the only way. This is what everyone else is doing. It's quiet time in the morning, reading your Bible with coffee, and you have a special chair, and there's soft music playing in the background. And some of you are able to do that, and I'm jealous. I still am, and I always will be, because I wish that was my routine, and it just never worked for me. But I would keep trying. I thought, this is the only way. So every year around this time, I would be like, this is the year. I'm going to read through the whole Bible. I'm going to get on a plan. I'm going to check the boxes. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to try maybe one of those caramel coffees with a lot of sugar. And like, I'm going to be a good Christian. This is the year. And every year it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is because it may work for those people, it may work for you, but every one of our relationships with God is unique. It's personal. It's a relationship. It's not going to look the same. You're not going to be able to copy the person on Instagram who's doing it this way, and it looks so perfect if that's not your life. It's not going to work. So let's just, for example, pick just like a totally random person. Let's just say like Pastor Craig, randomly. Do you guys know him? So a lot of us in here have a relationship with Pastor Craig. I have a relationship with Pastor Craig. Do you know Pastor Craig? You have a relationship? You know him? Do you guys know him? Yep. Okay, so a lot of people here know Pastor Craig. They have some sort of relationship with him, but all of our relationships with Pastor Craig look and feel and sound different. The way we talk to him is probably different. Steve, probably you've had different experiences with Craig than I have. There's different history there. We know different things about him. Some of you have known him for years. Some of you have just gotten to know him in the last few weeks. So Craig is the same person. He's not different to all of us. He's being the same person, but we all have different relationships with him because we're different people. And our relationship with God is just like that. God is the same. There's still one God, but the way I talk to him is going to be different than the way Megan talks to him because we have a different relationship with him. We've had different experiences. We've been through different things. Some of you maybe have known God and been in a relationship with God longer than I've been alive. Maybe some of you are just getting to know him. It's going to be different. We're all going to talk to God differently. We're all going to understand God differently. We're going to relate to him, and we're going to connect and grow closer to God differently. The thing that you see that is working really well for someone else that's might not work for you. The early morning and coffee works for a lot of people, and it's probably never going to work for me. My relationship's different. Some people like to pray at night. Some pray through journaling. Some pray by being in nature, and they probably feel really locked up right now because it's not going to happen. Some people grow by reading. Some people grow by talking to people. Some people grow just by being by themselves. Some people grow by doing things. Some of you serve by cooking meals. Some of you serve by building beds. Some of you serve by being with children. It's all going to look different. We can't copy what someone else is doing and expect to grow because we're not them. We don't have their life. The point is that if we want to grow in our relationship with God, we've got to find the way that works for us. And I don't want you to get discouraged if you see someone else and you think, well, they're doing it really well and they've got all these habits and they're so close to God and I'm going to do what they're doing. And then when it doesn't work, we get discouraged and we feel like, well, maybe I'm just not as good as them. I'm not as disciplined as them. Well, the problem might be that you are not them. And their life may be totally different than yours. I've had to find unique ways now with 3 little kids in my house to pull this off. It doesn't look the same as it could 2 years ago. One of the things that I do is every 3 hours, every day, 24/7, I feed 2 babies every 3 hours. And so I've decided that those every 3 hours while I'm doing that, you can't do much else, is going to be the time when I pray. That's a set time that I have. Maybe it's only 5-10 minutes, but that's the time when I can make it work. I have another friend that he told me his prayer time is when he brushes his teeth. He gets 3 minutes in the morning and 3 minutes at night, but he never misses because hopefully he's brushing his teeth every day. And because he's praying every day. That's what works for him. That's the time that he's found to make it work. Maybe it's while working out. Maybe it's while doing yoga or going on a walk or running. I don't live far from the church. I always tell people I live one song away from the church. I get in the car, I pick one song on Spotify, and then by the time the song's over, I'm here. And so I've found that, on the way here in the morning and on the way home, I pick one worship song, and that's my time to be with God. I don't miss it because I drive here and back almost every day. And that's the time I found to work. It's not going to work at my house right now. It's too loud. But those 3 minutes in the car, I get one song, and it sets the tone for the day. And when I go home, it sets the tone for walking in the house and being with my family and being in all that chaos. That's what I've found has worked for me. And some of you, that's not going to work. You don't have a commute. Maybe music just doesn't connect with you. I know people that they have to read the Bible. They have to be seeing the words. I know other people, they can just sit and play it and listen to it, and that works for them. You have to find whatever these unique things are in your schedule for you that are going to work for you. And instead of trying to find the perfect way to grow closer to God, you see someone else, you're like, that's the perfect way. They're doing it. I got to do it that way. Instead of trying to find that perfect way, I want us to just focus on what is the personal and practical way that I can grow closer to God? What is the personal and practical thing that is going to work for me? And maybe it's not going to work for someone else, or it's not going to look like someone else, but I've had success praying while I feed 2 babies, and that's not going to work for everyone. I can't tell you, okay, everyone, pray when you feed your babies. It's not the same. I've been able to do the one song commute thing, and that's worked for me. And it's not going to work for everyone. Some people can listen to scripture, some read it, some have more time to serve on the weekends, some it's not fitting in your schedule. You've got to find other ways to connect with God. Some of you, might go to Belize for a week this summer to the other side of the world to serve, and you're going to experience God over there. And others of you, maybe you're just going to go out your front door and you're going to shovel a neighbor's driveway today, and that's going to be a way of serving them, and you're going to experience God right there, 10 steps from your door. There's all these different ways, and you have to find the one that is going to work for you. I don't want us to leave here and be like, those were some good suggestions. I'll think about it. Because what's going to happen is we're going to leave here, and we're going to be busy, and we're going to be distracted, and life's going to happen. The Packers are in the playoffs. We're probably going to be getting ready for that game. And we are not going to think about this again. And we're going to come back next week and be like, oh, yeah, I didn't do anything. So I want us to think about what is the personal and practical thing that's going to work for you. And the band is going to come up here and end us with a song. And I really want to, I can't answer this for you. I can't say, okay, here are 5 steps to grow closer to God. Here's a habit you need to start. Everyone go out and do it. I can't answer this question for each and every one of you. I think it's going to be different for every single one of us worshiping this morning, the thing that's going to work for us. But I don't want us to leave here with nothing. I really want us to think about what part of my day, what part of my life, what part of my relationship with God. Maybe it is starting with pruning. You're like, I cannot grow until I get rid of this big, ugly branch that is sucking up all of my energy. And maybe that's where you need to start. You're not going to add anything this week. You're going to just prune and work at getting that branch disconnected from you. But maybe for some of you, it's something really small. It's the brushing teeth thing. I'm going to get those 3 minutes. It may not be long, but it's better than nothing, and that's where you're going to go. So there's 2 questions up here on the screen. What needs to be pruned? Maybe that's where you need to start. Or the second one, what is the personal and practical practice that can help me grow closer to God this week? Think about this week. What do you have going on this week? Where are you at this week? What's the one thing or the one area where you can add something that's going to keep you tied to that vine, that's going to keep you connected to Jesus so you can continue to grow? So if you're watching online, I want you to participate as well. If you have a good idea or something that's worked for you, something unique, share it in the comments section, because there's probably someone else on there that would work for them. And share those ideas with each other. If you're watching at home, you're sitting around with your family, share with them. Tell someone, here's what I want to try and do this week, or here's what I need to prune this week. For those of you that are here, tell someone on the way home what you came up with. If we just keep it to ourselves, it's not as likely to happen. So tell someone, write it down, text me, email me, tell somebody what you want to do. in our bulletin today, there's an online bulletin as well that you can click on. There's a little habit tracker on there. If you like to check the boxes, there's 7 boxes. It'll get you here next Sunday. Whatever that thing is, see if you can just pull off that small step for the next 7 days to get you back here next Sunday and find those ways that you're going to continue to grow. So I'm going to start us with a short prayer. The band's going to lead us in music, and just for a minute or two, we're going to have some peace, some quiet before we go back to our busy lives to reflect on these 2 questions, find the thing that's going to work for us. So let's go to God and let's pray. God, I just pray that over the next week, the next 7 days, we can find ways to stay connected to you, to spend quality time with you, to be with you, to learn from you, to learn about ourselves. And God, I pray that if there's branches that need to be cut off, you just remove that from our lives. Help us move forward. In the busyness and the chaos and all the distractions and everything else we have going on, God, help us become more aware of you and in the way that you're working in us and through us in a unique and special way. God, I pray for everyone worshiping with us now that you give them that idea, that inspiration that's going to work just perfectly for them.
Let it soon come back.
Make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me.
So just that brief time was able to give you a start. There's something you can take with you, and I pray when we come back here in 7 days that we can just be a little bit farther along and experience that progress. So thanks for being with us this morning. Thanks for worshiping online. We'll see you next week. Hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer. We'll meet here at the water's edge.